Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, today we are diving into something absolutely wild. We're going on an epic, chronological journey into one of the most fascinating and honestly darkest mythological histories ever recorded. We're going to explore this massive story of cosmic rebellion, forbidden knowledge, monstrous giants, and a divine tactical strike that quite literally reshaped the world. It's a narrative that attempts to answer a deeply unsettling question. Where do the dark supernatural forces in our world actually come from? Let's kick things off with a passage that has puzzled scholars for centuries. It's Genesis 6:4, and it reads, "The Nephilim were in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came unto the daughters of men." It's just this one single sentence, right? But it leaves us with so many questions. Who exactly were these sons of God? And what on earth were the Nephilim? Mainstream texts kind of just leave us hanging here, but today we are going to reveal the terrifying backstory hidden right behind this exact verse. To actually get to the bottom of this mystery, our source material today comes from a truly remarkable place, the ancient apocryphal texts of the Ethiopian Bible, and specifically the Book of Enoch. Now, this ancient manuscript was left out of modern traditional Protestant canons, but it holds a highly detailed, massive account of the events leading right up to the Great Flood. It completely breaks open the mystery of Genesis chapter 6.
So let's get into chapter 1, the Heavenly Defection.
This whole epic saga kicks off with a massive cosmic rebellion. We've got to talk about the primary instigators here, a group known as the Watchers. According to the text, these were holy spiritual angels. They were literal, immortal beings living an eternal life in heaven. But they looked down upon the earth, saw the comely daughters of men, and were just entirely overcome by earthly desires. They consciously made the choice to abandon their holy station, descend to earth, and the details here are wild. Exactly 200 of these angels touched down on the summit of Mount Hermon. But they didn't just casually stroll down. Their leader, an angel named Semjaza, was actually terrified of this plan. He was scared that the other angels would get cold feet at the last second, leaving him totally alone to pay the penalty for this massive sin. So to make sure absolutely no one could back out, they all swore an oath. They bound themselves by a mutual imprecation, essentially a dark, unbreakable curse, to follow through with the whole shebang.
Which brings us to part 2, unlocking forbidden secrets.
Once they were here on Earth, they didn't just mingle, they initiated a sudden, catastrophic corruption of humanity. What's absolutely fascinating is that the text lists out exactly what these specific angels taught us. Azazel taught men how to make weapons of war, swords, knives, shields, but at the exact same time, he taught them the use of cosmetics, antimaty, and the beautifying of eyelids. Semjaza taught enchantments and sorcery. Others taught astrology and the constellations. They literally took eternal secrets preserved in heaven and handed them directly to mortal humans, rapidly accelerating violence, vanity, and total corruption. And that sets the stage for part 3, the rise of the Nephilim. So, you mix all that forbidden knowledge with the unnatural union between angels and humans, and the result? Absolute chaos. The children born to these immortal angels and human women were not normal kids. They were the Nephilim. And we aren't just talking about unusually tall humans here. We're talking about terrifying, monstrous giants. The Book of Enoch describes their height as 3,000 ells. To put that into perspective, in modern measurements, that is over a mile tall. Even if we assume some ancient hyperbole there, the text makes it incredibly clear that their sheer scale fundamentally broke the natural order of the world. Now, imagine trying to feed something that massive. The text tells us these giants rapidly devoured all of humanity's resources. Humans worked their fingers to the bone, but they simply couldn't produce enough food to sustain these monsters. And when the food finally ran out, the narrative hits a horrifying tipping point. The giants stopped eating crops, and they turned their sights directly on humanity itself. This brilliantly illustrates the sheer, brutal savagery of the Nephilim. The world just plunged into an absolute nightmare. They didn't just attack humans, they destroyed every living thing. Birds, beasts, reptiles, fish, nothing was safe. They even turned on each other, devouring one another's flesh and drinking blood. The earth was completely swallowed up by violence and lawlessness. This carnage gets so unimaginably bad that the earth itself actually lays an accusation. The text says the souls of the dead cried out, and their voices went straight up to the gates of heaven. This finally grabs the attention of the heavy hitters, the highest archangels. Michael, Uriel, Raphael, and Gabriel look down, see an earth completely devoid of peace, and they take the case directly to the Most High. This forces an incredible intervention in part 4, the divine cleansing.
let's look at God's methodical response to the cries of the earth, because the way the Book of Enoch lays this out is just fascinating. It frames the famous Great Flood not as some random weather event, but as a highly coordinated military strike. Step 1. The Archangel Raphael is ordered to bind Azazel, the weapon maker, and cast him into the darkness of the desert. Step 2. The Great Flood is deployed specifically to wipe out the Nephilim and cleanse the earth. And Step 3. Semjaza and the rest of the Watchers are forced to watch their giant children die before being locked away underground in the valleys of the earth for 70 generations. So the physical threat was entirely neutralized by the floodwaters, right? But hold on a second. I want to pose a really critical question directly to you. The Nephilim weren't just flesh and blood. They were born from mortal women, sure, but their fathers were immortal angels. So what exactly happens to a creature that is half mortal and half immortal when its physical body drowns? That huge theological twist leads us right into our final, darkest chapter, the birth of demons. The Book of Enoch provides this ancient secret that answers our question perfectly, revealing the hidden aftermath of the flood. Because the Nephilim had that immortal angel DNA, so to speak, their spirits could not be destroyed by the floodwaters. Their physical, mortal bodies drowned, yes, but their immortal souls survived. The text states it so clearly. Evil spirits have proceeded from their bodies. They shall be called evil spirits upon the earth. And this is the truly tragic and terrifying consequence of the Watcher's defection. Heaven is for the spirits of heaven, so these souls absolutely cannot ascend. But their earthly bodies are gone. So these disembodied spirits are literally forever trapped roaming the earth. Because they don't have physical bodies anymore, they don't take food, yet they endlessly suffer the exact same insatiable hunger and thirst they had as giant monsters. Invisible and starving, they endlessly oppress, attack, and afflict humanity. They became what we now recognize as demons. It totally flips the script on how we look at ancient mythology and the very concept of evil, doesn't it? So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one chilling thought to ponder. If these ancient apocryphal texts are to be believed, if this epic chronicle of cosmic defection and earthly corruption is really true, are the supernatural forces that haunt our world today simply the starving ghosts of the Nephilim? It's a profound, wild concept that connects a war from the dawn of time directly to the world we live in right now. Thank you so much for joining me, and keep questioning the history behind the mysteries.